All of the actions of Donald over the past year, since the election and prior to the election, have been part of a larger scheme for him to falsify the election and maintain power, maintain the presidency in the face of losing the election. One of the first methods right off the bat, as soon as the returns were coming in, you may recall him bullying and pressuring both workers and the Secretary of State in Georgia, Raffensperger, threatening them, destroying their lives, working hard to get them to falsify the results of the election so he could stay in power. We also are clear that he wanted to get a new attorney general in at the Department of Justice so he could have that new attorney general write a letter to the swing states saying, we at the Department of Justice think there's widespread fraud. By the way, there was some fraud, and it was all Trump voters trying to vote twice. There were a couple of people in Texas, but that was by accident, that they voted when they weren't supposed to, when the instructions weren't made clear. But the people who voted for dead people, like Trump talked about, that was Trump voters trying to sneak in some extra votes, which is a stupid and inconsequential and impotent thing to be doing. But but then all of the people who were at all the top leadership at the Department of Justice, when he had planned on sending those letters out to the swing states, said, you try and do this, we all resign. And we're going to do it all at the same time, and people are going to know why we're resigning, because of these criminal acts you're attempting to do. So he backed off from that, but he had every intention of doing it. And one of the main things was to get Mike Pence to say, I have the power not to count the Electoral College votes that have been verified and sent in. Instead, I'm going to say that the election was suspect, and we're going to have the Senate vote for who's going to be the president. And of course, at that point, the Senate had a Republican majority, and Trump thought for sure that he could get all of the Republican senators to throw their country away and spit on the vow they took to uphold the Constitution and bow to the strongman. Boy, it's hard to know if he would have succeeded on that or not, but it came awfully close, except that Pence said he would not do it. No wonder the crowd was screaming, hang Mike Pence. Pence was the one standing in the way of that happening. Please notice that in all of Trump's connivance and criminal acts, there's something in common in every one. People of principle stood up to him. Brad Raffensperger said, you're not going to falsify the election in Georgia. And then the leadership of the Department of Justice says, you're not going to use the Department of Justice to falsify this election. And then the lickspittle of the world, the man who had been truckling to Trump for years, Mike Pence said, no, I'm not doing that for you. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to falsify this election for anybody. And counted the vote at the risk of his life. Hang Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence is what people were saying, is what the Trump mob was saying when they ran through the Capitol. Trump did all these things because he was and is scared to death. Have you noticed how comparatively quiet Trump has been? Part of that is that he's not on social media, and the only reason people paid attention to him while he was on social media is because he's president. When the president says something, I guess you got to listen to it. But he's been comparatively quiet. Now, he wanted to stay president for two reasons. One, you cannot indict a sitting president. He knows all the crimes he's done, and he doesn't want to be held accountable for them. As long as he's president, free get out of jail card. He cannot be prosecuted and maybe can run out the clock on the statute of limitations on 5 years. Secondly, Putin is the reason he's gotten away with all this. Russian bots and Russian influence on the internet has been instrumental in keeping Trump propped up on the internet, spreading his disinformation and lies and multiplying them with Russian bots and Russian help. If he, one, is not president, and two, does not have the prospect of becoming president again, then Putin's very practical. If he doesn't need Donald Trump, he will throw him off. He doesn't care about Trump. Putin cares about himself, his money, and his power. And if he can have a Manchurian candidate in the White House, that's worth money to him. That's worth effort on his part. If not, he will throw Trump under the bus just as fast as he can, because he has no need for him. There is no honor among thieves. The people that are supporting Trump right now, he does not care about them. And the second they are of no use for them, he will trash them and throw them away. Does he care how many people are going to prison right now? Is he speaking out for them? Of course not. He has used them as tools. He has used them, and now he's done with them. Off to federal prison you go. No parole. No time off for good behavior to speak of. You get 5 years in federal prison, guess how long you're staying there? 5 years. This is not state prison, where you're sentenced to 5 years and you get out in 2 years and 2 months. Federal prison doesn't work like that. And every one of these people who are being sentenced for the January 6th insurrection are being sent to federal prison. They are all federal crimes. They will serve every day of their sentence. We may wonder, this idea of the Teflon Don, how is he getting away with all this? How can he continue to do crimes and get away with it? Well, for one, if I were Donald, I think I could get away with anything either. I always have. There has never, ever in his life been accountability. When someone said, no, you can't do this, he would sic Cohen on them and threaten them with long drawn out court battles that he could afford, or at least he could afford to threaten, and the other person could not afford. He was constantly using the courts as a weapon against people who disagreed with him or who were trying to hold him to account. Except for Trump University. He had to pay quite a bit on that, had to settle. You may think, the same thing was true with Al Capone. He got away with it and got away with it and got away with it. People thought, he'll never be held to account. And that is absolutely true. A criminal seems like they're getting away with everything and nobody will ever do anything. And they keep getting away with it and getting away with it until they don't. And then the roof caves in. I've seen that over and over again. People that we think are going to just be able to do wrong forever. And they do. They seem to get away with it until they don't. That is what I think is going to happen with Mr. Trump as well. He's going to continue to get away with it, but then he won't. It may come one way or it may come another. It'll come with a crack and then a break and then a fall.